Welcome to the 7-Day Sales Challenge. Hello, I'm Robert Nelson, and this is the 7-Day Sales Challenge. Over the next 7 days, I'm going to show you exactly how to increase your sales by at least 10%. The process is simple. You will start immediately, and you can continue repeating the process as often as you like in order to continue increasing your sales. Now, I've made this challenge very specific because you need to see results and you need to see them fast. And those results need to be measurable. So in order for us to create the results that we desire from this program, there are a couple of things I'm going to need you to do. First, I need you to take notes. Now I'm going to say a few things that are going to kind of shake up your thinking. And some ideas are going to pop into your mind that may be of great value to you in the future. I need you to capture these ideas as they come rather than depend on your memory, even if you have to pause this program to do so. Next, I need you to go on an information diet. You need to limit your intake of information so that you can focus your attention on each of the steps as we walk through this program. Last, I need you to actually do the exercises. You see, you can go through this entire program, take notes, and focus your attention and not see any results unless you actually do the exercises that are suggested in each stage of the program. Results are only produced when you take action. So let me begin by explaining, who am I? I am Robert Nelson. I'm the author of the greatest sales training in the world. I've been in the field of sales for over 20 years. I'm a sales consultant and trainer, and I've been a consistent top sales producer in my industry. And during the course of this 7-day challenge, I'm going to share with you some of the most valuable lessons I've learned in my experience. But that is a very important question, because one of the first laws of success is, who do you listen to? You don't need to listen to every Tom, Dick, and Jane that's offering you advice about selling, but you need to listen to people who've actually achieved some level of success in the area of your interest. And what is the 7-Day Challenge? The 7-Day Challenge is a systematic approach to increasing your sales. Now you will find that we will actually be applying the scientific method to selling. The scientific method has been used for centuries to make discoveries in virtually every field of study, and it can be applied to the selling process. And that's what we're going to do over the course of this 7 days. Each day, one step will be taken to help you make progress toward increasing your sales. And what are the 7 steps? First, we'll make an initial observation. Now, once you've completed this 7-day challenge, you can make your observation in any direction you desire. But for the sake of this 7 days, we'll make our initial observation in a very specific direction. Next, we'll ask a defining question, and this question will serve as a guide for our efforts along the course of this 7-day journey. Then we'll do some basic research to gather information that will provide us with additional insight as to what needs to be done to improve our sales. Then we'll create a hypothesis or establish a theory of something specific that we can do to increase sales performance. Then we will conduct an experiment or apply our hypothesis to a real-life situation in order to produce some real-life results. Then we will measure those results to determine whether our experiment actually created the results that were expected. Finally, we will draw a conclusion or summarize what we've discovered along the course of this 7-day journey. Allow me to set some expectations so that you can be prepared for what's about to happen. Expect to capture some brilliant ideas along the course of this 7-day challenge. And focus your attention on one step at a time so that you don't get into a state of overwhelm, because when you feel overwhelmed, you'll have a tendency to be paralyzed. But expect to be pushed outside of your comfort zone, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you'll keep getting what you've been getting. So this challenge is just that. It's a challenge, and it will push you out of your comfort zone. So if you feel a degree of discomfort, consider that a clue that you're on the right path. Finally, expect to repeat this process after the first 7 days are over. Those that are serious about improving their sales won't stop after 7 days. Once you've discovered this pattern, you can repeat it as often as you like. This is day 1 of the 7-day challenge. And today, we're going to make our first observation. And we're going to make this observation in a very specific direction. We will observe, learn, and uncover some self-limiting beliefs. And once we uncover these beliefs, we will then reprogram your subconscious mind for greater success. So day 1 has a very specific focus. Our focus is on reprogramming the subconscious mind. Today, you will learn how to reprogram your subconscious with new beliefs that will help you become more successful at selling. Because as you well know, sales is more of a mental process than anything. So let us begin. The power of your subconscious mind is immeasurable. Most of the acts that we perform on a day-to-day basis are performed on a subconscious level. Even the things that you may neglect to do that could increase your sales performance, you are doing that on a subconscious level. Now, most people are aware of the fact that there is unlimited potential in the subconscious mind. But what if you could tap into that power and direct it on purpose to help you create better results in your sales performance? That is exactly what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you exactly how you can tap into and make use of your own superpowers. Consider this fact. 90% or more of the activity that's taking place in your physical body to keep you alive is performed on a subconscious level without your conscious participation. From the circulation of your blood, to your breathing, to the digestion of your food, to even your reproductive system, all these things are done by your subconscious mind. But what if you could take your conscious mind and use it to tap into that unlimited resource of the subconscious? You can, and it's all a matter of learning how to control and direct your focus. Tell me, what do you see? Your point of focus determines your reality. There could be a multitude of things around you at any given point in time. But what is most real for you is what you're focused on at that moment. Whatever you see as real will affect your behaviors, and your behaviors affect the results that you can produce. So during the course of this day of the challenge, we're going to show you how to shift your focus and change your reality. Perhaps the best way to illustrate how this process works is to share with you my story and explain how it happened to me. I grew up in the streets of Chicago, and I noticed that there were many young people selling drugs in urban communities. So I wanted to make a change. I figured that since they could sell, perhaps I can show them how to sell something that would not be so destructive to their futures or the community. But I had one problem. I didn't know how to sell. So I began my journey in the sales arena by selling door to door. I tried selling at trade shows and conferences. I tried telemarketing sales. I even opened my own business with the idea in mind that perhaps if I was selling my own product or service, maybe I'd be more successful. But all of the above failed miserably. And as I look back on the experience, I realized that it wasn't because I didn't have faith or confidence in the product or service I was selling. It was because I held some self-limiting beliefs that were holding me back because I did not believe in myself and my own ability to sell. So you need to stop and ask yourself this question. What's stopping you? We all hold some self-limiting beliefs. What's your self-limiting beliefs? To give you a perfect example, in my situation, as I look back on my experience, I realized that I had some negative impressions on my subconscious mind about salespeople because I had some negative encounters where the salesperson was pushy or arrogant or just seemed to be out to get my money by any means necessary. That, in conjunction with my fear of rejection, caused me to restrict my own performance in the sales arena so that I could not produce the results that I desired. Now, how can we erase and replace these with more empowering beliefs? The first step in the process is to identify the belief that's restricting you, and then to create a visual image of something of a more positive nature that would be empowering, and then program these new beliefs into your subconscious mind. And we're about to discover exactly how to make that happen. So here's the first step in how you go about the process of changing your focus and using your conscious mind to tap into your subconscious power. First, you have to identify the belief that is limiting. And to help make this example clear, I'll use my own situation. I had a negative impression on my subconscious mind about salespeople. I held the belief that salespeople were pushy, arrogant, and manipulative. And with that kind of subconscious focus, it's no wonder I was a failure at selling, because I didn't want to be that person. But it's not enough to just identify a limiting belief. You have to replace it or write over it with a belief that is more positive and empowering. So as I reflect on my own experience, I realized that I did have some positive encounters with salespeople, because there were times when I had a salesperson that was informative, helpful, and efficient. At those times, I felt eager to buy from the salesperson. I was anxious to give them my money and felt that they had done me a tremendous service. So the challenge becomes, how do you take this new belief and impress it upon your subconscious mind and repeat the process until it becomes your reality? For me, I was unable to learn how to do this until I had finally reached the end of my rope. Sometimes the end of your rope can be a great beginning. You see, I realized that I was a dismal failure at selling, and I had done all that I knew to do. And that was a great place to start, because that's when I was able to let go of my dependency on my conscious ability. There's that point when you're willing to learn, because you realize that you don't know what you need to know in order to be successful. You don't have all the answers, and you are willing and ready to discover a better way. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that is so true, because as long as you think you know, you'll never be inclined to ask the questions or seek the help you need from people who actually know. And it is here that I began to discover the power of mentors. You see, through mentors, you get to learn vicariously. As in the words of Warren Buffett, experience is good, but it doesn't always have to be your experience. Mentors are the pathway to your achievement, and you get the option to pick and choose who will mentor you. You can find mentorship through books, through articles online, through videos. It may be a personal acquaintance, but you get the option to decide under who you will sit to learn what you need to know so that you can move to the next level. Once you do, they will expand your awareness of what's possible. And as they expand your awareness, it will transform your belief system. So when I first began my search for a mentor, I thought that if only I could learn from some successful salespeople, I could discover what I needed to know to improve my sales. But most of the successful salespeople I knew were busy selling, and they didn't have the time or the desire to teach me. Some of them referred me to various training programs. And I came to discover that there were multitudes of seminars, workshops, and audio programs available to teach you how to improve your sales. But unfortunately, I couldn't afford any of them. Then I met a billionaire by the name of Paul J. Meyer, who at the time owned Success Motivation Institute. So I went to visit him in his office. And when I got there, I noticed that he had these gigantic framed parchments hanging along the wall down the hallway to his office. So I asked him, "What were these?" And he said, "They were the 10 ancient scrolls from Og Mandino's The Greatest Salesman in the World." And needless to say, I was fascinated. This seemed to be just what I was looking for. Not just a chance to learn from a successful salesperson, but a chance to learn from the greatest salesperson in the world. So I was sold, and I bought the book, and it only cost me about $7. But the book really didn't seem to be about sales at all. It was an enchanting little story about a young man's journey to become a great salesman. He was given 10 ancient scrolls, which supposedly had the power to transform the reader's life from a state of failure to one of amazing success in sales. Each scroll addressed a different life principles, but the first scroll gave very specific instructions on how to program these principles into the subconscious mind. Each scroll was to be read for 3 times a day, for 30 days, one scroll at a time. Then he would turn to the next scroll and repeat the process for another 30 days. First, the scroll was to be read in silence in the morning, then again in silence at midday, and finally, the scroll was to be read aloud at the end of the day just before going to bed. It seemed a simple enough idea, so I decided to try it. I had nothing to lose. Yet even though it seemed simple, it was not easy to do. Keeping up with that kind of regimen for almost a year is a lot harder than it seems. So I started the routine and fell off in less than 2 weeks. So I started over again, but this time I fell off in less than a week. But I still needed to learn how to sell, so I had to come up with an idea. Then it hit me. I had a brilliant idea. I decided I was going to cheat the system and program the scrolls into my subconscious mind without going through that long drawn-out regimen. Here was my plan. I would record myself reading the words of each scroll, and then I would listen to the recordings over and over and over again until I knew them by heart and could recite them from memory. So that's what I did. But as I made the recordings, something unexpected occurred. I made an amazing discovery. I didn't just record the words of the scrolls in a monotone reading voice. I recorded them with all the inflection, all the emotion, and all the enthusiasm that I could muster. I made the recordings with all the intensity as if I were actually living the experience. I imagined how the young character in the book must have felt, how he might have expressed the scrolls if he were recording them, and then I recorded them as if I were the character. This is the key to unlocking the doorway to your subconscious mind. In order to successfully program your subconscious mind, you must be able to consciously imagine yourself in a position other than the one that is your present reality. Now I'm going to say this again, and I'm going to say it slow because you really need to get this. This is the cornerstone of today's lesson. Your imagination is the doorway to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind can be influenced and will accept and act on any idea that is convincingly suggested to it by the conscious mind. However, the only way that the conscious mind can convincingly suggest something to the subconscious, it must first be persuaded that the idea is true. And this cannot be done when you are consciously aware of and focused on where you are and who you are at the present moment. You've got to get outside of yourself, like an actor gets into character. But if you can get into the spirit of the character will get into you. Autosuggestion can be used to influence the subconscious to believe something different about you. And when you believe something different, you will behave differently and you will produce different results. Gradually, I began to notice a change in myself. I went from hiding in the bathroom when I was supposed to be out selling to courageously presenting my products with confidence and actually closing sales. But this change didn't happen overnight. Yet little by little, I began to notice that I would react to the situations that confronted me as I was commanded in the scrolls to react. I began to believe that I could do it, and my behavior started to change. I broke through my self-limiting beliefs, and the things that were once uncomfortable for me to do started to become second nature. But how did this happen? It happened because I made a conscious effort to program my subconscious mind. Now, the conscious mind can be used to influence the subconscious. And the doorway to do this is by using the imagination to stir up intense emotions. And do it repeatedly, over and over a period of time. Your subconscious mind will influence your behaviors. And when your behaviors change, your results will change. Consider this. There is infinite intelligence and ability in the subconscious mind. And you can tap into it by making a conscious effort to do so. The following is a simple mental exercise that you can do immediately to start the process of reprogramming your subconscious mind. Now, this is an exercise, and like any exercise, it may be a bit uncomfortable when you first get started. But the more you do it, the stronger you will become. So I'm going to take this slowly so that you can really think about it and visualize the images in your mind. Just imagine that you are a successful salesperson. What does that look like? Think about it for a moment. What if you had more customers than you could manage alone? People lined up and waiting to buy from you. You're getting calls, you're getting emails, people coming to your place of business and asking you to help them. People eager and happy to buy from you and hungry to find more about your products and services. And what if you earned a great commission from every sale, and the sales kept coming in one after the other, and the commissions kept stacking up one on top of the other? Now you have the resources more than you need to live the lifestyle of your dreams. How does that make you feel? Could it make the selling process more enjoyable? Could it cause you to be happier in the work you do on a day-to-day basis? Could this joy affect your interactions with your customers, your friends, and even your family? Would it make you eager to serve even more customers? Think about it. How does that make you feel? Now bottle this feeling by describing it in writing. You need to pause this program and write a description of how you feel at this present moment. Then take a dose of that feeling at least 3 times a day by reviewing the description you wrote so that you can stir those feelings up in yourself all over again. Repeat this process every day without fail. Stir up the feeling as often as possible throughout the course of the day and continue until this feeling becomes your permanent reality. Now, I encourage you to use the 10 Ancient Scrolls. And since you're taking this 7-day challenge, you already have access to my book, The Greatest Sales Training in the World. And within the book, you will find each of the 10 scrolls, plus a detailed commentary on how the ideas in the scrolls can actually be applied in real-life sales situations. I recommend the scrolls because they are perhaps the best description ever written of the qualities and attributes it takes to be a great salesperson. Og Mandino was a master at writing vivid descriptions of invisible characteristics in graphic word pictures. And by reviewing the scrolls regularly, it's a simple way to continue the process of reprogramming your subconscious mind. The 30-day cycles gives each of the ideas time to sink in and take root. And by focusing your attention on one scroll at a time, you'll develop one character trait at a time, and eventually develop a collection of character traits and behaviors that are essential to being a great salesperson. The change begins. This is how the transformation process works. Your change starts with the basic desire to become better. And you've already taken that step because you're here. The next step is to identify and learn from a wise mentor. Now, I chose the greatest salesman in the world to be my virtual mentor, but that's not my only mentor. I am constantly interacting with and learning from great salespeople because I realize that association brings about assimilation. Then you've got to actually practice the things you learn until you develop a degree of skill. Because though practice may not make you perfect, it will make improvements. And the more you practice, the more you will improve. Until one day, finally, you will have become the master of your craft. Now, just think about this for a moment. There are right now, at this moment, in your exact same industry, people who are achieving amazing levels of success with their sales. The difference between you and them is that they believe differently, they think differently, and they act differently. So they produce different results. But what if the technology existed that could enable you to download their beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors into your own personality? If it did, then you would immediately start producing more successful results. But the technology does exist, and you can start using it today to transfer the characteristics of a successful salesperson into your own personality and dramatically transform the results that you can achieve with your sales. And it all lies in the power of words. Words are thought containers. They can transfer or transmit thoughts and ideas from one mind to another. If you will download the thoughts and ideas of a successful salesperson into your mind, you can develop the beliefs and the behaviors that can enable you to produce more successful results. And this is something that you can do simply by listening to the things that they have to say and by reading the words that they've written. Think about this for a moment. Before the invention of the microscope, mankind was oblivious to the existence of germs, simply because they couldn't see them. Yet germs are real and have a very real impact on man's physical reality. They can actually cause physical disease. And some of these diseases are contagious or communicable diseases. Likewise, words are life form and they communicate thoughts. Now, even though thoughts are invisible to the human eye, they can be perceived by the human mind and have the power to impact physical reality. Thoughts can be very contagious. They can cause ease or dis-ease. Words can be a source of despondency and despair, or they can be a source of inspiration and enlightenment. The power of life and death is in words. So be selective in your exposure. If you will expose yourself to the words of people who know the answers to the questions that you face and who have already achieved success in the area in which you desire to succeed, you can transfer information into your mind that can change your reality. If you expose yourself long enough to the right kind of thoughts, they will affect your beliefs. Your beliefs will affect your behaviors, and your behaviors will ultimately affect your results, which means if you can get yourself under the influence of a successful salesperson, you can actually download their thoughts, their beliefs, and their behaviors into your own personality and can contract a condition of greater success with your sales. Now, I'm going to give you 4 specific tools that you can use to begin the process of reprogramming your subconscious mind. The first tool is images. You have got to form a clear mental picture of the outcome you want to create. What does it look like? Can you visualize it in your mind? And to help you crystallize your vision, you need to gather up images that clearly describe the results you will produce. You can gather these images from the internet or from magazines. It could be a scene that you saw in a movie or something that you read in a book. I recommend that you use the scrolls because they vividly describe the characteristics of a great salesperson. But you can use any images you like. The important thing is that you form a clear picture in your mind of how your future is going to look. The next tool is emotions. Take the description you wrote earlier and review it for as long as it takes to stir up the emotions inside you of what it actually feels like to be a successful salesperson. Take out time every day to practice this exercise. The next tool is spaced repetition. If you will establish a routine, such as morning, noon, and night, to reflect on your images and stir up your emotions, you will eventually develop a habit of seeing the vision and feeling the emotion of what it's like to be a successful salesperson. Eventually, you'll start seeing the vision and feeling the emotions even when you're not consciously trying to do so. The last and perhaps the most powerful tool is prophetic praises. Take out some time every day, even if just for a few minutes, and verbally express your gratitude for the improvements that are happening in your sales and in your life. Now, I say prophetic because you're still talking about a future reality, but don't talk about it as if it's in the future. Speak about it as if you're being thankful for this as your present reality. The more intense you can express your gratitude and appreciation for having what you desire, the more effective you will be at convincing your subconscious mind that it's already real. The magic of autosuggestion. The process that we're learning today, the first day of the 7-day challenge, is designed specifically to show you how to reprogram your subconscious mind for greater success in your sales. Now, this process has been used for centuries, but it became widely recognized in the late 1800s when Dr. Emile Coué used it to cure his patients of almost every imaginable physical ailment. Dr. Coué was a French psychologist and pharmacist who initially used hypnosis to treat and cure many of his patients. However, some of his patients were not receptive to hypnotic suggestion. For them, the doctor prescribed autosuggestion, or a form of self-hypnosis. It was a simple prescription in which the patient was required to repeat an affirmation 20 times a day, twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. They were to say these words aloud. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And the results were nothing short of miraculous. By following his prescription, the patients were able to cure themselves of almost every imaginable ailment. He became world-renowned for this simple, yet powerful method that he used to treat his patients. This is autosuggestion, and this is how you will reprogram your subconscious mind. Because the subconscious mind has the ability to change your physical reality, and it can be triggered by making a conscious effort to do so. If you will consistently practice this reprogramming method, you will begin to see dramatic increases in your sales performance. In this day's lesson, I've given you the tools. And now that you understand the rules, all you have to do is play the game. You can reprogram your subconscious mind for greater success with your sales. And this is how you begin the process. It's not something that I can do for you, but it is something that you can and will do for yourself. Now let us review exactly what we've learned today. We have discovered the importance of identifying a wise mentor to guide us along our journey towards success. We've also learned how to identify and destroy self-limiting beliefs by simply writing over them and replacing them with more empowering beliefs. And we've learned the secret to convincing our subconscious mind that what we desire is real by stirring up intense emotions and feelings within ourselves that it is actually real through the use of our imagination. And finally, we've learned how to change our belief system by exposing ourselves to the words and thoughts of successful salespeople, and in the process, alter what we believe is possible in our own experience. So let us now prepare for day 2. Here's your homework. First, review the first of the 10 ancient scrolls. You already have access to my book, The Greatest Sales Training in the World, wherein you will find the 10 ancient scrolls. And if you have not yet downloaded it, go and do so. But so that you don't get overwhelmed, concentrate only on the first scroll, because it will help to reinforce the lessons of today. Next, select a wise mentor. It could be someone that you know or someone that is already successful but whom you may have never actually met. You can learn from them in person, through books, even through videos. But the most important thing is that you identify someone who is already successful at doing what you want to do, and allowing their experience and knowledge to influence your behaviors, which will in turn affect your results. Next, make sure that you perform your mental exercises and use your imagination to continue stirring up your emotions. And last, start immediately using your reprogramming tools and continue to use them every day until you begin to notice a change in how you think, what you believe, and how you behave. Once your behavior starts to change, the results are sure to follow. I just want to thank you for taking this, the first step along this 7-day journey. This is just the beginning, and I guarantee that if you stick with it, you will soon see a measurable increase of at least 10% in your sales. However, the positive change that this 7 days will bring into your life will affect more than just your sales performance. So I encourage you to continue the process even after the 7 days ends. Once you discover how effectively this works, you can apply this same process to make improvements in any area of life that you desire. So that's all for now. We'll continue tomorrow on day 2 of this 7-day challenge.